Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hawks Latest, your number one source for news, updates, rumors, opinions, and you guessed it, the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. I'm your host, Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL, and today we've got a full slate of updates to cover. This is the 91st episode of Hawks Latest presented by FanArch. So we are almost at 100 videos. The growth has been great, and it's been awesome to see. Been super fun to cover this team for the time that I have. So the Atlanta Hawks continue to make waves this offseason. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's been an exciting offseason. They've been adding new players and reshaping their roster with the goal of climbing to the top tier of the Eastern Conference. It's looking like they certainly can do that this upcoming season. Today, we're going to be diving into a few important updates. We'll start with the Hawks' most recent official signing, Kobe Johnson, the younger brother of Jalen Johnson. We talked a lot about Kobe Johnson on this channel so far, just considering the context. The Hawks reportedly signed him, but they made the deal official, and it's kind of a limited deal, and we'll talk all about that. Then also shift into some news about former Hawk Garrison Matthews. Garrison, up until just yesterday, actually 2 days ago at the time this video was put out, he signed with a new team. And, it was clear the Hawks weren't going to bring him back, but he's officially on another team. So we'll break that down. Also, we'll take a closer look at how national analysts are ranking Atlanta's starting lineup specifically. We've seen analysts rank the Hawks just in general, but they haven't specifically talked about our starting lineup and how it ranks among the others in the NBA. So we'll talk about that and then close with a deep dive into the true role of Nickeil Alexander-Walker and how it could play into the Hawks rotation next season. There is a lot to cover, so without further ado, let's jump right into it and talk about how the Hawks have been busy announcing new signings over the past week, obviously with training camp coming up. And the latest addition is former UCLA standout Kobe Johnson. So according to multiple reports, Johnson is going to sign that Exhibit 10 contract. When the team released the details about his contract, they can't really say too much. They just said that the Hawks officially came to terms with Kobe Johnson, but it was later reported that it was an Exhibit 10 deal. The Exhibit 10 deal basically means he'll be given a shot at training camp to earn a roster spot and potentially find his way into the Hawks lineup, or not really their lineup, but their roster. But if they sign him to this deal and then they end up cutting him, he'll be with the Hawks G League affiliate, the College Park Skyhawks, with financial incentives to stay in the system. So this is kind of like just a prove it situation for Johnson. He'll be with his brother Jalen, and this is guys. I mean, these are guys that are on the Exhibit 10 deals that are really just fighting for a roster spot. So it's gonna be an interesting camp battle. For those unfamiliar, though, Johnson carved out an impressive college career. He was really solid at both of the universities he went to. So in his lone season at UCLA, after actually transferring from their rival, the USC Trojans, he started all 34 games and he averaged 8.6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1.6 steals. So very solid all-around numbers. He shot efficiently from the floor, 46% from the field, and 36% from beyond the arc. So just really solid numbers, looking like a guy that can immediately come in and contribute wherever he's at. His defensive presence is what stood out the most and really what kind of made him pop as a prospect. He earned Big Ten All-Defensive Team honors in 2025, marking his third consecutive year being recognized on an All-Defensive Team, twice in the Pac-12 and once in the Big Ten. So over his 4 collegiate years, Johnson suited up for 125 games. He actually started in 91 of them. He's been really recognized as someone who is really important to a rotation. He posted career averages over the course of his college career of 7.5 points, 4.3 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and 1.7 steals. Like I said, just the thing that has consistently been there throughout his college career is just his ability as a defensive disruptor. He actually ranked second in the Pac-12 in steals per game during both his sophomore and junior season. So just a dominant defensive player. Johnson is no stranger to the Atlanta Hawks organization. He actually played in the 2025 NBA Summer League for Atlanta, where he averaged 9 points, 4.2 rebounds, and 1.5 steals in just under 19 minutes per game. So in limited minutes, some very solid production, and very similar production to what we saw him do in college. But he was playing with a little bit of a bigger role here, and he put up those numbers. He shot nearly 63% from the field, so showcasing a jump in consistency. So the storyline here obviously is that Kobe is the younger brother of Jalen Johnson, Atlanta's star forward, who should be entering a healthy season. Hopefully we get to see him at his full abilities. Johnson could be All-NBA this upcoming season. I have super high expectations for him, but the two are going to share the court in training camp, giving Atlanta a chance to explore some family chemistry. A few days ago, the Hawks actually also signed Charles Bassey, and we talked about that in last episode, the former 76ers and Spurs center, to a similar Exhibit 10 deal. We're seeing a lot of these Exhibit 10 deals just so we can get their training camp rights, and then we can eventually acquire their G League rights. Training camp is going to be make or break for both Johnson and Bassey, and guys like Caleb Houston and Navali Nante. These are all guys on non-guaranteed deals. The odds are stacked against Johnson and Bassey, with the Hawks' current roster depth and obviously them signing guys like Dante and Houston before they came to terms with them. But nonetheless, it's going to be intriguing to see how their skill sets kind of keep them within Atlanta's pipeline, and maybe they could be pieces for the future. So meanwhile, former Hawk Garrison Matthews, who was known to be an absolute sharpshooter in Atlanta, he's found a new opportunity elsewhere, and it's good to see because it was very clear Atlanta was not going to bring him back. So according to Stefan Bondi of the New York Post, Matthews is signing a training camp deal with the New York Knicks. Ugh, I know, right? This could prove to be a sneaky good move for New York. They've had a pretty good offseason, I'm not going to lie. I've been trying, to find everything I can that kind of discredits the Knicks. I really don't like the Knicks, but nonetheless, they've been great this offseason. I liked the addition of Mike Brown in place of Tom Thibodeau after they fired him. I think that's a really underrated hire. And then also, I've liked some of the offseason deals they've made. I've liked them signing Gershon Yabusele. I liked them bringing in Jordan Clarkson. And they actually recently just came to terms with Malcolm Brogdon. There's going to be a little turmoil there, and I'll actually in next episode kind of talk about some development that I think could come from that. Maybe the Hawks would be interested in one of their guards in their deeper rotation, but that's not the topic for right now, so y'all just have to hold off for that. But I mean, Matthews has always been known as a sharpshooter, and this is a guy who could impress in training camp and carve his way into the Knicks roster. I mean, last season with Atlanta, he shot 39% from 3 on 4.6 attempts per game. So just kind of what we know he can do. That's really all he is there to do. He was also weirdly good at taking charges. He led the team for a certain period of time last season. He played in 47 games for the Hawks. His best moment came against the Timberwolves when he scored 25 points on 7 of 8 shooting from deep. So just real consistency there. Bleacher Report's Eric Pincus actually recently ranked Matthews as the 8th best free agent still available, citing the premium value of shooting in today's NBA. I mean, there's a reason why guys like Luke Kennard are getting $11 million deals. I mean, this is shooting is at its peak right now, and it's the most important it's ever been. But at 29 years old, Matthews still has the ability to contribute as that floor spacing wing. With he's not a good defender, but he can give you some good plays occasionally on the defensive end, and especially for a Knicks team that could certainly use some more outside shooting depth. I think he fits right in. I think this is sneaky good for the Knicks, as unfortunate as it is. It's worth noting that Atlanta's decision to not re-sign Garrison Matthews, it does align with their broader offseason strategy. The Hawks have loaded up on shooting. I always think it's a little bit of a risk letting a shooter walk after, you had such a poor shooting season last year. But they have really doubled down on that. And losing Matthews, it hurts in a little bit of, just a little bit, but they've really replaced him with better players who can also contribute on the defensive end. I mean, adding Kristaps Porzingis, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Luke Kennard, and Caleb Houston, all 4 of these players can hit shots from the outside at a high clip. 3 of them shoot over 40% from deep. Nickeil is right behind it at 38, so I would consider him a 40% three-point shooter. Kennard's case, we're talking about one of the most efficient three-point shooters in NBA history, so he's certainly a level up from Matthews. He's kind of just like a better Garrison Matthews in every way. But that is no shade at Gary Bird because we loved his contributions in Atlanta. He might have been frustrating at times because his shot selection was a little ridiculous, but you know what? If I could shoot that well from the outside, I would be pulling some of the most ridiculous shots you've ever seen. Last season, Atlanta, like I said, struggled with consistency from deep, relying too heavily on Matthews as their lone knockdown threat, especially after dealing Bogdanovic. So nonetheless, I mean, surrounding Trae Young with multiple elite shooters this time around, by doing that, the Hawks are giving themselves a much better chance to maximize their offensive potential. Trae Young had this team at the top of the league in shot quality last season, but they were in the bottom half of the league for three-point percentage, which is such a funny stat because Trae still averaged 11.6 assists per game, and now with all the shooters around him, he could average like 15. I don't think that's ridiculous to say. But it will hurt losing Garrison Matthews. But now let's turn to the Hawks starting lineup. So what's projected and what it's projected to be, we won't know until the season starts. And there are the rumors that Porzingis will be our 6th man. I don't think that's true as of now. I think Okongwu will play more nightly minutes than him. But nonetheless, KP will probably get the start. The projected starting 5 is Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Zach Ruiz, Jalen Johnson, and Kristaps Porzingis. For once, Atlanta is receiving national praise for their offseason moves. In fact, many analysts have labeled the Hawks summer as one of the best in the league. NBA analyst Grant Hughes graded this lineup a B. Which may sound modest, but I mean it reflects both the potential upside and the lingering questions. I mean, I think it's a little fair, just considering that Porzingis is the key here. If he can stay healthy, his combination of elite shooting and rim protection and post scoring gives the Hawks a weapon that they've never had at the center position. Especially since like Al Horford, but we're looking at a much better rim protector here. Last season, for the Boston Celtics, he averaged nearly 20 points per game on over 41% shooting from 3, an incredible mark for a 7-footer, but he didn't even play 50 games, which has always been kind of an issue with KP, and that's kind of why I mean, that's a big reason why he only gave it a B, because there's uncertainty there that they'll stay healthy. I mean, we went into last season with our starting front court as Jalen Johnson and Clint Capella. We ended the season with our front court of Mo Gay and Onyeka Okongwu. You just never know how the season is going to unfold, and I think a B is relatively fair. The rest of this lineup brings balance. This is probably the most balanced starting lineup in the entire NBA if you're looking at just deferring skill sets and also players that complement each other. Trae Young remains the engine of the offense, as we know. Dyson Daniels provides that defensive versatility. He can guard several positions and at the highest rate in the league. He's the best defender in the entire NBA. I don't care that Evan Mobley of the Cleveland Cavaliers won Defensive Player of the Year last year. He did not deserve it. That should have gone to Dyson Daniels. I'm glad he still was, rewarded for his historic season last year when they gave him Most Improved Player. But nonetheless, he should have gotten Depoy if we're really talking about it. He averaged 3 steals a game. He led the league in deflections at a historic rate. Meanwhile, Zachary Rieseshay is expected to continue to grow in his role. He's going to be that starter. We're going to talk about that a little more into this video, because even if Rieseshay struggles at times, his inexperience, we're going to have a guy like Nickeil Alexander-Walker to come off the bench. Once again, I'm not going to talk about it too much until this next segment, but still, Jalen Johnson is coming off of a breakout season where he only played 36 games, and that's unfortunate, but he still showcased, what he can be when he's healthy. I mean, he averaged 19, 10, and 5. It was a double-double before, that shoulder injury cut things short, and hopefully that won't happen again this season. Atlanta's a completely different team with Jalen Johnson not on the floor, and it's certainly not good, and it's not going to be one that can compete in the Eastern Conference, even with how wide open it is if Jalen Johnson does not stay healthy. Depth is a huge strength here. Now, while this article specifically from Grant Hughes was just about starting lineups, the Hawks' depth is what really is giving them kind of the edge over some of these Eastern Conference teams. That bench unit of Onyeka Okongwu, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Luke Kennard, it gives the Hawks one of the strongest second units in the NBA. If Rieseshay struggles or if Porzingis needs to sit for injury management, it doesn't matter. We have so much flexibility. Atlanta's plug-and-play options that few other teams can match, especially in the wide-open Eastern Conference. So, finally, let's talk about Nickeil Alexander-Walker and the role that he's going to play in this rotation. I actually just recently wrote an article about it. Hopefully y'all give that a read. It'll be up on my Twitter. But while he's projected to come off the bench, and he'll start the season off the bench, and Zachary Rieseshay will be the starter, his versatility makes him Atlanta's X factor for the entirety of next season. The real issue last season with the Hawks, especially heading into the postseason, after kind of having an underwhelming, especially end of the regular season, Jalen Johnson went down. It kind of killed the momentum for the season, but still they fought, they competed, and they got right there to making the playoffs. It showed during the play-in tournament that they lacked any sort of experience, especially with this super young team that was starting Mo Gay and Zachary Rieseshay. Zachary Rieseshay in particular struggled very mightily, under the postseason spotlight. The Hawks didn't make it to the playoffs, but in those 2 play-in games, Rieseshay shot just 14% from the floor. He averaged 5 points. I mean, this was a really poor first postseason performance. And now, luckily, those don't go on the official stat books of playoff stats. So Zach won't have to live with that, and that won't define his rookie season, because it was a phenomenal rookie year. But it did kind of hold Atlanta back because they didn't have anyone else that could go in and kind of take over that role as a vet. Now with Nickeil Alexander-Walker in the fold, the Hawks have a veteran wing who can step in whenever he is needed. If Rieseshay is struggling towards the end of the season, or even just in the postseason, if they want to just make a quick lineup change, they can. They can go with that starting lineup of Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jalen Johnson, and Kristaps Porzingis. Maybe if KP's hurt, you start Onyeka. I mean, the Hawks have so much versatility in this lineup, and it's going to greatly benefit them in the most important time of the season. Alexander-Walker has proven that he can defend multiple positions. I mean, there's one thing that's been consistent about Nickeil's career. It's been that he is an absolute lockdown defender. He can knock down threes, and he can bring composure to big moments. I mean, in Minnesota, he was at oftentimes guarding the other team's best player. And now him and Dyson are going to kind of share that load. His ability to shift between guard and forward roles, it gives Atlanta flexibility because he is listed as a guard, but he will play the 3 a lot for Atlanta next season, especially if Zachary Rieseshay once again isn't ready for the postseason's intensity. And I can't even blame him. You can't put any sort of blame on Zachary Rieseshay here. Last year, he had a much bigger role towards the end of the year than he was expecting to have, just because of the injuries that Atlanta faced. So This signing, well, the sign and trade for Nickeil Alexander-Walker, it ensures that Atlanta won't be caught off guard in a playoff setting again. If Riza falters, they can turn to Nah. If Porzingis misses time, Alexander-Walker's defensive presence still helps anchor the lineup. They have so many options that they can go to. For a Hawks team with championship aspirations, this depth could be the difference between another early exit and a legitimate playoff run where they maybe go to the NBA Finals. That is not nearly out of the realm of possibility. So, to recap, Kobe Johnson is getting a shot to prove himself in training camp alongside guys like Caleb Houston, Nafali Dante, who's the other guy we said? Charles Bassey. Garrison Matthews has moved on to the Knicks, unfortunately, but we wish him the best of luck. The Hawks starting lineup is being recognized as one of the most promising in the league because it is, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker could be the unsung hero of the offseason. So the Hawks have positioned themselves to be not just competitive, but dangerous this season. Their mix of young talent, veteran shooting, and newfound depth should make a team, make them a team to watch in the Eastern Conference to potentially reach the NBA Finals. So that's going to do it for today's episode of Hawks Latest. If you enjoyed today's breakdown, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single update here on the channel. We're going to be putting out videos every single day, keeping you guys informed on the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. But until next time, thank you guys for watching. I'm Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL, and I'll see you guys next time.